Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes.
I listened to Chairman Cohen speaking extensively about the 3/5 provision of the Constitution. I don't think he understands what the debate was all about. Ironically, he's taking the side of the southern states at the convention. They wanted a full count of every slave that they held in order to add to their congressional representation. It was the anti-slavery states that objected. They argued that those who were held in bondage should not be counted at all in the apportionment of congressional seats, not because they were not human beings, but precisely because they were, and that the Constitution should not reward the slave states with representation in Congress while those states denied these people their freedom. So the 3/5 provision was not a statement that slaves were 3/5 of a person. It was the result of a compromise necessary to bring into existence our new nation, as Lincoln said, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Ironically, Stephen Douglas would agree with the chairman's narrative that the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which gave them life, were only meant for white people. That's exactly the position that Stephen Douglas took. And of that position, Lincoln said this during their debate at Alton. He said, at Galesburg the other day, I said, in answer to Judge Douglas, that 3 years ago there never had been a man, so far as I knew or believed, in the whole world who had said that the Declaration of Independence did not include Negroes in the term all men. I reassert it today. I assert that Judge Douglas and all his friends may search the whole records of the country, and it will be a matter of great astonishment to me if they shall be able to find that one human being 3 years ago had ever uttered the astounding sentiment that the term all men in the Declaration did not include the Negro. I believe the first man who ever said it was Chief Justice Taney in the Dred Scott decision. And the next to him was our friend Stephen A. Douglas. And now it's become a catchword of the entire party. And when this new principle, this new proposition that no human being ever thought of 3 years ago was brought forward, I combat it as having an evil tendency, if not an evil design, end quote. In fact, in his Cooper Union speech a year and a half later, Lincoln systematically dismantled this argument by tracing the votes of every one of the American founders who consistently opposed slavery whenever the issue arose. He meticulously documented that their vision was of a nation of free men and women of all races and religions together, enjoying the blessings of liberty and the equal protection of our laws. That vision was put in modern terms by Martin Luther King, who expressed the gold standard of racial harmony, that we should be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. It is the equal protection of the law and the vision of the American founders, of Abraham Lincoln, of Martin Luther King, of a colorblind society that is now directly under attack by measures like this. I can't imagine a more divisive, polarizing, or unjust measure than one that would, by government force, require people who never owned slaves to pay reparations to those who never were slaves, based not on anything they'd done, but because of what race they were born. Fortunately, we have a Constitution that forbids such an injustice. Some of those provisions were won by hundreds of thousands of Americans like my ancestor, James H. Ewing, of the 3rd Iowa Volunteer Infantry Regiment. He was 24 years old when he was killed on April 6, 1862 at Pittsburgh Landing on the first day of what became known as the Battle of Shiloh. In the words of his brother, James gave up his life at the Battle of Shiloh, fighting to save our free government. Yes, there are racists in our society. There are racists of all colors in every society. It is the baser side of human nature. But no nation has struggled harder to transcend that nature and isolate and marginalize its racists than have Americans. Racism is the practice of according rights and privileges not based on equality under the law, but rather according to what race a person was born. The measure before us today exemplifies that practice, and Lincoln was right. It is evil in both its tendency and its design. And with that, I'll yield to my friend Larry Elder for any closing thoughts he might have.
Congressman, thank you so much. I agree with, of course, everything you said. And